Hey everybody, Xeno back here for another series. Possibly not the one you were expecting, but I figured this would be a quick project to toss in while I'm having a bit of a busy life cycle right now. I do want to get to playing Rock and Roll, which I promised to a couple viewers, and some other fan games. Did have to take a slight break after Magmal 3 and then the Dragon Man demo. But yeah, I'm back to cover the final base of the original NES hexology, which is Mega Man 1, actually. So we're all the way back at the beginning for the last entry. Not a particularly glamorous title screen here, although it isn't interrupting my narration. The audio balancing should be a bit better for this series. I did have a little bit of a slip up with Dragon Man, where I felt like the game audio was drowning me out most of the time. So we should be better balanced this time around with Mega Man 1's audio. This game is very interesting because it's an odd and kind of clunky beginning for this series, but hey, without this game, we wouldn't have any of the others, so definitely kudos to it. But it has a lot of very interesting oddities that I'm kind of looking forward to discussing, so let's get into it. Plain title screen, press start. This is 1987, so you can only expect so much. But we do get a nice little jingle here. Now, the first thing that longtime fans will probably notice is that you only get the chance to choose 6 Robot Masters instead of 8. And yeah, that's right. Here at the beginning, we only got 6. I guess they didn't have time or resources to implement more. I heard that there was going to be Bondman, which like almost every fan knows that there are more Robot Masters planned for this game, but ultimately ended up getting cut, possibly for resources or time. The state of this game definitely signifies to me that they were learning how to use the NES's technology. It very much feels behind the others insofar as what they were able to put, and there are a few design quirks that represent that maybe they weren't super familiar with the hardware yet. Definitely, by the time you get to Mega Man's 4, 5, 6, you can tell that they have a much better grasp on how to use this system, but here in humble beginnings, we have our stage select, which doesn't even have the series iconic mugshots yet. We just have the full-on sprites in the windows here. Everything else is about what you'd expect. You get your boss select. That was always a thing from the very beginning. And the typical choice is to go for Cutman because he's the one highlighted. The game wants you to choose him. Starts you off here. There's no middle icon to select, unlike all the other games. Usually you'd start in the middle, but not here. So we'll go for Cutman. And this intro will also showcase another very interesting thing that was immediately dropped in the next entry, which is the score system. This is a holdover from the arcade days. You can see at the top middle at all times that there's a score indicator. Enemies sometimes drop these little red orbs called like score balls, I think, that will increase your score. Unlike some other games, this score does absolutely nothing, so would not be too concerned about it. You don't get extra lives, you don't get any endings, nothing happens. It's just there, because they felt like they had to have it. Now, as far as Mega Man's controls go, they're actually pretty similar to the rest of the entries. No slide, no charge, like 2. So we're at the absolute basics, but he feels good to control. It's a tad more slippery in this game than the others, in my opinion. Like, you can see this kind of slidiness that I feel like was toned down a little bit in future entries, but he definitely feels good to control. Like, there's no real issue controlling Mega Man in this game, which is good. You gotta have a good solid foundation. As far as level design goes, one thing that'll stick out to you right away, if you're comparing to the newer games, or I say newer, these are all several decades old, but the future entries, is that the graphics are pretty simplistic. We have a plain blue sky, some pretty nice looking like beams and blocks and stuff. This beginning section always stuck out to me as being very janky. Like, I like how there's this ladder that leads to absolutely nothing here. And then these blocks can be moved around with Gutsman's weapon, which will be shown off later, but interesting stuff here. Just a little janky, a little, like, kind of old. It shows its age a lot more than the other entries, I feel like. The pickups also look entirely different. You might notice I've been picking up these yellow, like oblong-looking things, and those are what the health look like in this game, which were immediately changed into, and then the weapon pickups are kind of similar. They're blue and oblong, just totally different design than every other future entry, which is kind of what I was saying, is that this game has a lot of first game syndrome kind of quirks that are notable. The ladder climbing speed is criminally slow in this game. It might be the same as in 2, which also felt like very sluggish, and then I think they improved it for 3, just realizing that, like, yeah, taking 1 year to climb up a ladder like this is a little painful. Catchy music, though, from the very start. Like, Cutman seems a banger. That they always had right. One interesting thing is that when shots deflect off of enemies, as you can see, I just tried to shoot the wall turret, the beak. They don't bounce off. They just kind of vanish. And they just kind of harmlessly blink off, which is somewhat funny. There's a kind of odd thing related to turbo, which I want to show off, which like you normally wouldn't really know about unless you, I guess, had a turbo controller back in the day. But it's very funny what happens if you turbo spam an enemy to death. As far as level design that's going on right now, it's pretty normal. Not a whole lot to talk about. Cool machine here that spawns scissors. A little underused in this game. I think there are only 2 of them, like on this screen and maybe the next one. So could have done a little bit more with the gimmick, but they were finding their bearings. So here's actually a great place to show off the turbo shot thing I was discussing. So if you get right up to an enemy and you push your turbo button down, the enemies just don't die. I've never heard an official explanation for why this happens, but yeah, you can fire into their noggins all day long. They don't die. It's probably only the first shot. The reason why that enemy died is because the first shot has some level of impact, I think, but you can stand here and spam all day long and make funny noises with the Buster, and they don't die. Very, very, very peculiar. Really not sure why that happens. Got your series staple octopus batteries or Susies on these screens. Just fun, normal run and gun stuff, you know. Nothing too much to talk about. Like I said, this game is not particularly extravagant in its gimmicks for the most part. And unfortunately, the standout things are mostly bad, but the stage doesn't have much of that. It very clearly stands out to me as the beginner stage. Like, the developers wanted you to go here first, which is probably why Cutman is highlighted first on the stage select. It just kind of works out. This screen is a little dicey. There are a few things that are kind of series staples that I didn't mention. I guess if I had reviewed these chronologically, I would have harped more on the 3-shot limit, but that's always been the same. That's the same as in every other game, that you have a 3-shot limit for how many Buster shots you can have on screen. Interesting, it looks like you can shoot these, but it doesn't have any impact. Those things don't have health as far as I'm aware, so not sure if you would be able to accomplish anything. These enemies, the Bunby Hellies, always look to me as if they were like maniacally smiling. I've realized in my later years that it's just supposed to be like the bottom part, and it's not supposed to be like this evil grimace, but it kind of looks like it to me. I'm trying to show off one interesting thing, which is that health respawns in this game. Actually, all pickups do. If you go off screen, like if I were to walk over to the left again, this health would respawn as well. And that goes for everything, including extra lives, weapon energy, and the Yashichi, which only appears once in the game, but very odd quirk. Not sure why that's the case, really. Here we get an introduction to Flying Shell, which kind of moves forward and shoots shots periodically. Another very simple, pretty effective enemy. And also on this screen, a ladder warp. This game has so many odd quirks, but this is another odd behavior. So if you stand directly beneath a ladder, one thing that, if you're familiar with NES games at all, you'll know that there's like some vertical wrapping aspect to the way these games are programmed, and in this game, the way it manifests is that if you jump here at the top of the screen with the ladder at the bottom, you can grab the ladder from the top of the screen. See, I'm at the bottom now. I'm all the way down here. These spikes remind me, in Mega Man 1, if you take damage and fall into spikes, you will die. There is no invincibility for spikes, which can really bite you in the ass in a couple specific segments in the game. Not really an issue here because the stage is a bit too easy for that, but... and then here we have the dreaded Big Eye. So this guy is pretty bad in this game because it has one solitary sprite, as you can see. It does not give any tell as to what it does. It does 10 damage on contact and has 20 health, so it's really difficult to dispatch. You basically have to get lucky. Like, I got lucky. It jumped high over me. It can either do a high jump or a low jump, and it's completely random, which it picks. There is no predictability. It's entirely variable. So you pretty much have to pray that it jumps over you and try and maneuver under it when it does the high jump to have any chance of making it under unscathed. You'll notice that there are double boss doors in this game, like as you just saw, which is only a thing for this game. Not sure why they programmed it that way. There's no like door here. In every other subsequent entry, the door would be like kind of divided in half between the other screen and this screen. And I think it looks a lot better that way. I don't know why they did this like kind of double door concept. Also, a staple of only Mega Man 1. These long-ass boss corridors that have like enemies in them. Again, I don't know why they did this, because it's just kind of obnoxious. But yeah, there are enemies in the boss corridors here. And then I guess they got the door right on this side, but not on the entry side for some reason. So, Cutman. Very easy starter boss. Your ideal starting point, or one of them. There are like a couple other viable places you could start, but this is probably the best. Cutman takes 3 damage from the Buster. You can really like ruthlessly bully this guy. He stands no chance against you. He jumps, walks around, throws his rolling cutter. He takes knockback, which only one other boss in this game. Actually, no, 2. Elec Man and then one of the Fortress bosses both take knockback, but it makes him very easy to push around. He's weak to Gutsman's super arm, which is why these blocks are here. You can clear him in 2 hits by using these. So, good weakness design. I wish that weapon worked a bit differently, but I'll talk more about that later. But overall, good stage. A pretty good introduction to this game and like this entire franchise's world, I'd say. Like, if we're talking about this as a starter for like fresh eyes, like somebody that's never played Mega Man before. Like, well, Mega Man didn't exist before this. So, you know, that kind of thing. But it makes a good impression. And you grab this little energy element, which became a staple of the series to some extent. Get however many clear points were promised to you. Not like it matters. And it's back to stage select. So even though Cutman is blacked out, and this is something that I find really interesting about like the design progression in the first games, is that you can revisit any of these stages at any time. And you kind of need to, because the Elec Man stage has an item called the Magnet Beam, which you need to clear the game. The game doesn't really tell you about it. Unfortunately, games back in the day weren't particularly player-friendly about informing you that, hey, if you don't pick this up, you're going to be totally screwed. But yeah, you're able to freely visit any of these, and the bosses respawn, unlike Mega Man's 4, 5, and 6. So they'll all still be there to be fought if you return to their stages, which is odd. I do find it interesting, because 2 and 3 remove that. You're not able to revisit stages in either of those. And then in 4, they came back around. I guess because there are missable items in Mega Man's 1 and 4 that aren't. It's not the case in 2 and 3 that you can miss anything other than E-Tanks, but those are not strictly mandatory. So, anyways, we're going to be going to Elec Man stage next. And a few of you might be thinking that I'm making a grave mistake because it's going to cost me a revisit, but I'm actually going to show you something that might blow your mind a little bit. So, per every other game, you get weapons, pause to change your weapon, yada yada. This screen is probably one of the worst starting screens in the entire series. Like, I feel like it's just hilarious how hostile this is. 3 spines here just arranged to screw your day up, just literally to fuck you over, basically. Really funny to me, to be honest. It helps a lot to have Rolling Cutter here because it gets rid of those spines, as you can see. This game also has a quirk that's going to become relevant in this next boss fight, because we have a weapon that stays on screen and pierces more than 1 hit worth of damage, which is that you can press the select button to do a different kind of pause. This is pausing with the start button, which brings up the weapon menu. And this is pausing with select button, which pauses the music, interestingly enough. It also has a lot of glitchy effects on enemy collision and invincibility frames that are super fun to abuse in this game, to be completely honest. It's really just fun to break this game into once you figure this trick out. So I'll be sure to show that off to you. Pay very close attention to the layout of the screen, by the way. Notice anything familiar about this screen? That's right, they're the exact same. To my knowledge, Mega Man 1 does this in several places for memory-related reasons. The exact, like, clarification on why it has to be done, I don't really know, but there are several places in the game where screens are outright reused, and it allegedly has to do with some sort of memory limitation. Like I said at the beginning, I suspect that maybe the developers just didn't have the best knowledge of how to use the hardware to its fullest. There's a bit of odd sprite flickering here, by the way. And as you can see on this screen, Yoku blocks have always been a staple of this series, even from the very start. They're not too bad in this game overall. The ones in Iceman stage are kind of obnoxious, which we'll talk about eventually. Not quite yet, but... you can see again in this stage, like, very plain overall aesthetics. Like, you have these animated tiles which look good, but this background is just plain blue. Nothing wrong with a plain blue background, but definitely a noticeable lack of animation or kind of stuff going on compared to the other Mega Man games. These enemies are also a pain in the ass. I didn't think that one was going to hit me from the ladder, but it sniped me. Make use of the weapons again. Getting past these spines without one of the weapons that can dispatch them is really, really annoying. If you do follow along with this stage order, prepare yourself to do the trick that I'm about to show off in this next screen. So, this is the Magnet Beam, and you need this item to clear the game. The game never tells you about it, but you know it's sitting here, so I suppose it hopes you would remember that it's here. Now, usually you need Gutsman's weapon or Elec Man's weapon, so you would either have to revisit the stage or beat Gutsman before this point, but that kind of sucks, and like I don't really feel like getting Gutsman's weapon, which is borderline useless, to do this part of the stage. So, you can follow this trick instead to get Magnet Beam hassle-free. I'm going to save state just because this can be a little annoying. So the first step of this trick is to stand exactly here and press down and shoot until you get Mega Man in this very noticeable, like, glitchy position. I might have to skip forward if I don't get it right away. But you need to hit them on the same frame, I believe. Okay, so I went a little too fast, but basically you will get him on the ladder. He'll be like suspended above the air, essentially. Actually, I guess I should show it. It's gonna look like this, and then what you want to do is hold... Okay. Usually what happens is you hold up and left and you end up zipping to the left side of the screen as happened earlier. Sometimes it doesn't play nice. For whatever reason. Right, so once you get in that position, push up and left at the same time and it should jut you out over here. And you'll be kind of like glitchily floating on the left side of the screen. From here, what you want to do is you want to jump up and at the apex of your jump, push right. So now we're here. And this is kind of a dangerous situation to be in. So I would proceed with caution. But what you want to do is try and get it so you want to tap left very lightly. Or sometimes moving a bit to the right and then turning left helps, like that. Then from here, what you want to do is very slowly tap left. So you tiptoe forward, just like this. And then once you grab the Magnet Beam, jump. And then you're gonna try and you're gonna push right so you can get back here. Then turn left and tiptoe your way out of there. And boom, we got Magnet Beam without any of the hassle of beating Gutsman. Now, whether you consider this trick more or less hassle than doing that is up to you, but personally, I never liked deviating from the order. Like, you can beat Bomb Man first and stuff, but Elec Man's weapon is probably the most fun and probably the best in the game, so you might as well get it early, and this lets you do it with more ease. Definitely one of my favorite tricks specific to this game. Now, one of my not favorite parts of this game is navigating these ladders with these annoying electrical currents because of how slowly you move up. It feels like you should have more leeway than you actually do. But often what you'll end up doing is just kind of hitting the beam with your head or something on the way up. Here's another reused screen, by the way, in case you didn't notice, but most astute observers could probably tell that something was getting reused. There are a lot of reused screens, especially in this stage. Not sure if it has anything to do with the verticality of it, but... Alright, got lucky again with the big eye. Don't even bother fighting these guys if you can avoid it. Once you get your lucky break, just head out of there. Okay, yeah, see, I got hit there. I don't even think that hit me. Like, genuinely, I don't think that hit me. But I'll take it. One quirk of this game that is present in the other Mega Man games up till, I believe, 4 fixed this, is that if you pause on a ladder, you will fall off of it. So keep that in mind. And the game doubles the pain here by making you do this section twice, essentially, to get to the boss. One of the most ridiculous bosses in this game, by the way. So, Elec Man does a crazy amount of damage. You can see he's already about to get my ass. He does 10 damage. I'm already dead. He does 10 damage with his Thunder Beam, which is pretty absurd, first of all. He also attacks lightning fast, I guess as the name would suggest. But if you know how to cheese him, which you can see me do right here, he only fires at certain spots on the floor. One of them is right here, there's one on the left, and then another on the far right, I believe it is. So what you want to do is get as close to him as possible, and shoot just after he raises his arms. Now, how good you are at this will vary significantly. Even I struggle to do it consistently, and, you know, granted, I don't replay this game a whole lot, so that makes some level of sense. But it's fairly challenging. And also very annoying to show off, because he's extremely aggressive and will not let me talk. But you can get in a rhythm of doing this. Like, I used to be pretty good at it on the Legacy Collection. You can manage. When you fire, he'll jump around, so he'll try to evade you. He'll jump either forward or backwards. So anyways, this guy is a strong-ass motherfucker. Yeah, see, that's another one of the spots he'll fire on, is this middle spot, and then there's one over here, yeah. If you lure him back, he'll fire again. He'll kill your ass. Not sure why they bothered including the guts blocks here, because he doesn't particularly take a lot of damage from them. I also like how the beam breaks when you get shot by it. That's a very interesting effect. So you can kind of play around with Elec Man a little bit. Huh, okay, I guess he's fooling around. Oh, back to business. So yeah, not sure why they made these particular design decisions. Especially, not sure why they decided that it would make sense for him to be able to kill you in 3 hits at full. A little excessive if you ask me. But anyways, I'm sure you all are tired of me dying over and over again. Probably wondering, how do you kill this guy? So, here's what you do in this game. You fire a projectile, you let it get inside the boss, you pause with select, you wait, you unpause, and they die. So what happens with this is that pushing the select button pauses the game entirely, but it doesn't pause the global timer for enemy invincibility frames, which is most relevant for bosses. It's really only useful for bosses. I don't think the enemies get messed up by this quite as much. But since all the weapons in this game are projectiles for the most part, like, this is very easy to do with almost every weapon, is that you just shoot a projectile, wait until it makes contact with the boss, and then select, spam them to death. The projectile will live on screen as long as it doesn't, move past or despawn, but none of the projectiles in this game have a lifespan that's impacted by the boss. You can just do this same technique for every single boss and kill all of them. I always do it just because it's really funny, I think. to watch them all like succumb to the weapons. I really did talk a lot for 2 stages worth, but this game has a lot of very interesting quirks, as you can tell. We'll be tackling 2 more stages next time, Ice and Fireman. So, thank you all for watching. This is Xeno signing off for now, and see you next time. Bye-bye.